Three, two, one. We're live. Hello, Nova.
Hi,
Welcome
Joe.
along. Welcome along to our Shadow Work podcast. And it's so cool. I even have a shadow with me. I don't know if you noticed. I'm not entirely sure where it's from. Oh, I think it's my top of my laptop. So
Yeah.
bring a shadow to the podcast. Um,
Perfect.
and how are you doing?
I'm feeling great. I got new
Fantastic.
lights, so it's a
Yeah,
little bit,
I love the green.
yeah, I made it green because it's on brand for John Binnie, so I made it green.
Oh, and I should have like brought. I have my green. I don't know if you can quite see it. It probably won't work if I just rip it off the wall, but it's here. I just need to like turn my camera. But thank you for honoring the green of our hearts.
Team green.
That's right. So we wanted to talk today about a concept. Um, Annoying. It's more than a concept for certainly me now, which is, and I feel like the shortest way to describe it is our experiences of the fact that thoughts and feelings are actions. So, another way of saying this is thoughts and feelings have an effect outside of our bodies onto other people, living things, physical things, everything, the whole universe around us. And so, yeah, I wanted to take us back, Nova, to a time where we could start with where we didn't believe that that was really true, that somehow you could silo energy, including like your feelings, and you could, compartmentalize. So you could say, I could say, I hate my job, but I still go to my job and I do my very best to smile, and no one will know that I hate it. Um, and for me, that's quite a few years ago now. But yeah, I'd love to hear about some of your beliefs. First of all, like, was there a time in your life where you felt like that it was possible to kind of silo feelings, and that they wouldn't somehow affect others?
Um, the best way I could say, well, sometimes, we can like hide feelings, but people that are more sensitive, and maybe we don't count on people being sensitive or people being like aware or in tune to it. And mainly that might be because if they were aware of it, could they confront it or talk about it or mention it? So it almost feels like doesn't really have an effect because no one's talking about it having an effect. It's like it's a little bit strange. Like we have feelings that we don't share. We have emotions um that maybe like it's in our shadows, right? Whether it's like how we feel about ourselves or how we feel about other people. So it's almost like the feedback you get. It kind of depends because you kind of assume that maybe that's not a real thing, or maybe they won't notice, or maybe they won't pick up on it, and you're just not like thinking that, and a lot of the times like how we feel, it's like it's normal to like feel negative things, and it's normal to feel whatever negative vibration, whether it's like jealousy or like misery or anger or like hate or sadness or like heartbroken or disappointed or, or all these different things. um and I think for a long time, I kind of thought, was that really a thing? Because I mean, my life experience has been quite alone. So it was like very, very kind of something I had to get used to as I started to become more like intuitive, and I started to meditate more, and I started to interact with people more, and then I started to get my intuition, and then my intuition will tell me, like I think this person, I really like them, but they might have done something that is not reciprocating the energy that I hope that I would expect from them, that everything would be great. And it's happened to me a couple of times, more times than I'd like to admit, where it's like I'll be I'll be doing tarot cards for myself, my oracles, and I'll just look at what's going on in the month, and then I'll like keep seeing, it's very similar cards bringing up like jealousy issues or something in my relationships, and I'm just like, what? Like who is this? Like I think everyone loves me. I think everything's great. I don't hurt people. Like what's going on? and it would like keep showing up, it would keep showing up. And it was like, what's going on here? And then like I'll be like taking a bath or something, and then I'm just like really quiet, and it's like you're kind of meditative, and then like a thought comes in your mind, and it's like the intuition's picking up, like, I don't know if I could trust this person, or I don't know if this person's really, showing me their true colors. And that's the thing. It's like when it's a negative thing,
Yeah.
how do you confront a negative thing? Because it's like they're hiding it because they don't want you to know, and they're assuming you're not gonna know, and they're assuming you're not gonna pick it up. And so it's like when you have really intuitive friends, or you have, friends that are more sensitive, and sometimes you don't need the intuition, but sometimes you can like pick it up socially. And there's like different, I guess, like different levels of it, where it's like you don't really know unless you tune into it, and you don't really know unless like someone confronts you. But it's it's harder to do when there's more negative, like, shadowy feelings, because, like, not everyone wants to confront that, so that's why we, like, secretly, like, hide how we feel. I've heard, some of my friends, some of my more sensitive, spiritually, or psychically sensitive, friends, like, mention, you know, um, a friend of mine at the time, got, like, a lot of, like seemingly overnight, got a lot of people like trolling like his channel, and like hating him, and it's like YouTube feuds and stupid stuff like that. And I remember when my friend, expressed this, they woke up, and they felt the energy, like they felt it, and it was just like out of nowhere. But yeah, and it really makes me wonder, whether if it's like a person doesn't deserve, all this like hate, or all this pressure, all this attention on you. It doesn't even have to be, a negative attention. Like just knowing there's attention on you, like you can also feel that too. You can kind of feel that. I mean, I think even sometimes people in live streams, like sensitive people in live streams, can kind of get like, you know, for lack of better words, like claustrophobic, because there's like so many energies here, and they got to learn to like not let that get in the way, right? Everyone's kind of like different sensitivities, and this and that. And sometimes like it's like we won't even like recognize or validate like that's a feeling, that's a real feeling, and that's not just being crazy, or not just, feeling things out of the blue. It's like there's a real sensitivity to that. And I've heard like stories from my friends. I've had lots of friends at the time that went through stuff like that. Um, I had like a little bit of my own experiences with my oracle cards, and my own intuition, and it's just you just don't expect it, you know. And I kind of like I see it with a lot of compassion, because like, look, I understand why they're not confronting, because those are very hard things to confront. And it's like, what do I do? You know what I mean? It's like, what do I do? It's like, it's one of the most like challenging things, um, where I can like hold space for them, and like understand, and like have compassion. But then it comes down to the point of like boundaries, and like, self-esteem, and, making sure that we're in healthy relationships that are reciprocated well. It's there's a lot of like layers to it, where it's like these like interpersonal relationships, and things like that. And to just, it's a shadow we have to like learn to like have the strength to just not let it like overtake us, or that, to be more considerate of like how others might feel, versus just assuming that they're not going to feel anything. It's just because as humans, we have things to hide from ourselves and from others. So it's kind of like, is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? It kind of just is. But when you're more sensitive, and you're more intuitive, and you kind of have these experiences, and you know friends who have these experiences, it does, bring up the idea of like our shadows, right?
Mm.
Um, so and then I would like look at my intuition. I would like meditate. I'm like, how could this be real? How could this be a thing? And like as I'm meditating, I'm getting memories, and I'm like, wait, that was a piece of evidence. That was a piece of evidence. That was a piece of evidence. I was like, and I didn't put it together. And I'm like, now I'm seeing it because I'm like taking the intuition, and I'm kind of just like, initially I'm like, nope, nope, no, this can't be, this can't be. And I'm like, but if it was, how would that have happened, and how would I have not seen it? And then I look at, like, in the meditation, I'm like remembering. I'm like, oh yeah, yep, I just overlooked it. But that's the thing, like, our intuition or our sensitivity can, like, pick up things even if we're not actually aware of where it's even coming from sometimes. It's like it's not enough to just, like, know you're feeling the energy, but, like, who is it coming from? Right? And
Yeah.
so sometimes, like, my tarot can be helpful for me when, like, things are like, I'm completely blindsided, like, I don't even know this is even happening. And then sometimes I'll see the same themes coming up over and over again, and it's but that's just like the way that I react and the way I respond. Not everyone's going to be as nice as or as compassionate or as, like, accepting. It's part of, like, my personality type is very understanding and very tolerant. So sometimes it's harder to kind of put more in that confrontation, or put more of that boundary, or, like, the timing, or but also, like, I can relate because we all have negative emotions. Like, we all feel these things. We all have shadows. We all have different things going on in our lives. So, like, look, like, I get it, but it's just a matter of, like, where's the wisdom, on how to deal with this, like, how to handle this, and, like, what is the right course of action. And other than just myself, dealing with, like, the information that I'm getting, and the connections I'm making, having someone to talk to that I can trust is also really good. So that way I don't have to, like, be, like, all in my mind or all in my head on it's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
whether it's, like, a sensitivity, or it's a realization, or it's like, it makes you feel a little bit bad sometimes. It's like, if you could read a person's mind, and not have the ability to, like, stop it or prevent it. It's like, you don't want to read everybody's mind. It's actually kind of great that you don't read everybody's mind all the time. But sometimes the energy, when it's being directed at us, it's kind of, we feel it, especially with people that we're closer to. It's kind of harder to ignore. And, like, for me, for example, who has, like, the gift of tarot, like, that's gonna show up even if I'm not necessarily, like, feeling it at the time. But I don't know, but I think it's something that I can catch up better with, like, the more I grow up my sensitivity.
Brilliant. I feel that something that I just didn't realize until maybe, well, certainly 7 years ago, maybe as close as something like 6 years ago, is that the whole universe is like, depending on which way you look at it, energy first or consciousness first. The consciousness creates energy and vice versa, and then comes matter. And I believe that I could, you know, I guess I'd describe it as like hate on friends and family, or people that I, admired, either at work or, you know, kind of people that I admired on social media, that I could hold, you know, negative feelings about them. Um, sometimes it'd be jealous of, like, I would see someone that could handstand on Instagram. It's like, I want to learn how to handstand. And I'd really admire them. And then after a year of trying doing handstands, I was like, I think I feel a bit jealous now. and But then, I would believe that I could just hold that jealousy to the side and say, you know, um, I still enjoy all their stuff, 80, 90% of it. And I also feel jealous. And then if I ever interact with them with comments and stuff, I'd never want that negative energy to, like, spill out and go and say, really love your handstand today. I am so jealous of you. I wish you would stop. I'd never say that, right? But it
Yeah.
was like, or I wish you'd fall, or something negative. Like, you would never say it. But over time, what I started to realize, and this was really the energy healing work I was doing. It was first introduced to me when I first received an energy healing from someone. It was like, they didn't call it Reiki, but it was like Reiki.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I I was sleeping, they're on the other side of the planet. They did this energy healing and it cleared this like dark energy in my chest. And I was really, at the time, I was really stressed out working in my corporate job. And I was like, how? Like, it was so real. It felt like I'd been on a vacation for a month. I felt I'd barely slept that night. My son had been having night terrors for years, chased by demons in his sleep. And I was sleeping on his floor. Yet I'd woken up and had never felt better, maybe never felt better in my life. And I was thinking, this energy, and I guess the way I saw the universe at that time was that there's physical stuff, and on top of that, there's energy. And energy flows in and out of things. But what I hadn't quite started to understand, to grasp, even though the universe, like, hey, John, this has no boundaries. Like, this energy flows through everything, regardless of the matter, regardless of the space and time and distance and what's between you. And I started to realize that just gradually as I started to learn how to do and like what I call quantum healing, or I started calling it darkness clearing when I first started doing the works. Most of it was in the dark side. Um, I started to realize that and as I became more sensitive as well, that I realized that when I was kind of doing this very human thing of like, sending love to a friend, but, someone comes up in your consciousness and be like, oh, I'm walking my dog. Oh, I wonder how my friend's doing. Oh, I really love my friend. I'm thinking, oh, I really enjoyed that last time we chatted. And, oh, but this is that the thing they do. It really annoys me. And then you kind of rabbit hole on it and you kind of start hating on it, right? Like it can become quite a strong emotion. And, you know, I also just want to take a moment to say we're human. It's kind of how we're designed, right? We are really designed to be able to hold really broad frequency ranges. It's a really beautiful, gift to have very low vibration to very high vibration. And everyone chooses that range, whether it's narrow, whether it's large, whether it's up higher in the scale or lower in the scale, like we all choose. And you can't like stop it, right? And like you said it, Nova, like you said, like it's a shadow. It's just always there. And the worst thing is to hide it, right? To try and hide it from other people because they know you're not perfect. They know that guess what? John's human. Um, and if I give some examples of myself, I had this comment yesterday, and initially it triggered me. So this was a friend said to me in person. They said, John, you're quite different in some of your videos to how you are during the day. And I was like, I was like, I was like, oh no, this is terrible. Why are they saying this? And they said, John, your videos that you do, I do my meditation. Hi, it's John video first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're saying you're not really like that during the day. So, no, and your other videos aren't really like that either. And I said, I must admit, that's exactly how I feel every morning, just after meditation, before I take on the chaos of the day.
Yeah.
Um, and yet it's true, right? There's still that part of me. Like if I was to pause for a moment and start like, take 3 deep breaths and do a meditation, you'd hear more of that side of me. And then vice versa. There are like moments like I go through panic feelings and low, deep, dark feelings too. But I know that I can't silo these. I can't like be in like I used to be in the rat race, climbing a career ladder, and then in the morning, hi, it's John, like, and be like just this kind of guru type avatar who is totally relaxed. Now it would be true for years that I could have a good sleep, I could wake up, but it would literally what you saw was this guy, doing that for a 1 minute video and then running to a conference call and spending 12 hours in meetings. And so of course it like accumulatively it has an effect throughout my work, and my day and my life. Um, and you can't hide that. But I also know that, everything I consume affects everything that I, process inside of me, and then everything I resonate out across the universe. So if I'm consuming like really, unhealthy things, maybe I'm addicted to like ghost hunting and horror movies and things that like, excite the fear in me. And then I try and go into a very loving healing session for someone. Those things are very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Um, And I start like you're touching on Nova, and this is probably the hardest thing for us to articulate is, and I experience this with you as well. So when we're chatting on, when we're messaging each other, it's not just like it's like in those 80s movies. I remember you'd see someone typing, right? And you hear a voice, they put a voice over. Hi, John, it's Nova. It's like, hi, Nova, it's John. Like you start to experience a lot more than the words. You know,
Oh yeah.
you start to create this kind of container to receive the energy from someone. So even in
Yeah.
a DM, you know, I can't say, Nova, I'm fine. Like you'll literally be like, John never says he's fine. And then you'll be
Yeah.
like, why would he tell me he's fine? And it's like, no, I'm just great, thank you. How are you? Um, and yet I often think about these things in like a, if you think in a court of law, like if you know, if you're asked, if you're questioned in a very kind of traditional Western manner to ask like, how was John's state of mind just before this incident? You'd say, well, his words were, I'm fine. And you'd be like, well, he seemed fine to me. And the reality was, what you receive is like this, especially the more you connect with, you know, people like, you know, this with long-standing friends, twins describe this, partners describe this about each other, is that you you read each other's energy, and
Yeah.
you're receiving whenever you're typing something, leaving a voice message, a video, we create a song or art, like you encode around all these different modalities. And like in songs, for me, it's like the lyrics, the words, the notes, everything I wrap in my intention. And it's almost always love. But when you do the opposite, it's also true, right? That you start to transmit this energy, whether you're conscious about it or not, whether you're trying to hide something or not. And some people are good at it, right? Some people are really good at hiding, um, because they're hiding it from themselves. Like, isn't it like
Oh yeah.
the perfect spy is the one that you doesn't realize they're a spy.
Yeah.
Um, it's like that's like some of the premises or themes in like the Terminator movies. So yeah, I was really interested in this is the hard question over, right? Like, what are some of your examples of where someone's been hiding something from you? Um, but and you mentioned things like you have go-tos like or like a check-in, a regular check-in for these sorts of things when you're not consciously aware of it, like tarot. Like what are the ways that you can, without derailing every single relationship you have in this life, that
Yeah.
you can check in on you know, your connections with others? And it's both ways, right? Like, are you hiding something from them? Like, what's really your intention behind a friendship or a relationship? And then vice versa, like, what are their intentions towards you?
Um, can you rephrase the question a little bit? Like I got an idea, but I'm trying to like
Okay,
figure it out.
I'll just be a little bit more specific. So, can you share an example of when someone has been telling you something, like the words say one thing, often quite positive,
Yeah.
but their intention, the energy didn't match that at all?
Well, I've had like some people like a long time ago say they're fine and they're not fine, you know.
Yeah,
I've you know, I don't know if it's like my personality or it's just the I guess the part that gives the benefit of doubt in pretty much everybody. And I kind of do that for more like positive reasons because if I don't I could like really give myself like super social anxiety trying to like worry about what other people think and um things like that. I mean, it's kind of hard to describe because it's like you said, like some people can give this energy without being aware that they're playing a part in that energy. Like someone could be jealous of me, but they're not going to admit their jealousy shadow. They're not going to fix it. They're not going like they don't even realize that it's there sometimes. Or their anger, they don't realize that it's there. It's kind of like hiding underneath the surface. And you know, so I mean, I feel like that happens a lot with like with anybody. But it's kind of goes down into like the emotional immaturity. It kind of goes down into the shadow of like how do we navigate such and such, and it just depends like if a person's ready or not. But um, you know, I'd say that I'm picking up on it more, but I don't think that I'm too aware of it. I think it might be a personality thing. It could be maybe if I start to ascend more, I might become more sensitive. But I've noticed like little inconsistencies, but the big inconsistencies are the ones like I don't see most of the time, which is why I have like my tarot to show up patterns and stuff. And like I don't really like the vibration of like being a detective and like finding out who it is, and it makes me uncomfortable. Like that gives me a little bit of social anxiety, and like every time like I find the answer revealed, I literally break down crying because it hurts. It hurts so much,
Mm.
and especially because like I can't do anything about it. And it's like I got to also protect my energy, and I don't want to, it's really strange thing, because if a person is not aware that they're feeling like they're triggered by something of me, where my intention is actually, aligned in a high vibration, I feel like, well, if I were to interact with this person more, they would feel more of that negative trigger, even if they're not aware of the negative trigger, right? And so it's kind of like, well, if they're not aligned with me, well, then maybe I should put a little bit more space between me and them. But also, if I were to continue, then they would continue to have those triggered feelings. But then it's also like I can't like bring it up, and it's like, and so sometimes tarot can be like great for like looking at, what's the outcome if I were to do this, if I were to talk to them, and it just depends. Like it's a very complicated, delicate thing. But
Mm.
not everyone's close to each other. Not
Yeah.
everyone like has that sensitivity or has that friendliness or has this like optimism or this benefit of the doubt type of thing that I kind of have. So I'm kind of grateful that I have the gift of tarot, but like I'm not seeking out inconsistencies with others. I'm not really looking for that. And honestly, like my intuition does need to grow more. And my meditation practice is growing more. So my tarot does kind of give me some warnings here and there, but I think the biggest thing for me is, now that I'm aware, of how they truly feel, there's a part of me that also has to like transmute the feeling of the realization of how they actually feel about me, and also the realization that they don't even realize how they're feeling about me.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
it's like, okay, and I just gotta hold space for it, just like give it compassion, because like, hey, it's normal. It's normal for these things to happen. It's normal, and it almost feels weird, like I know it's an energy first like universe, and so everything is encoded with energy, right? There's a signature on everything. But
Yeah.
like at the same time, it's kind of like it almost feels like, and I don't mean this in a bad way. It almost feels like I shouldn't know, but I also feel like I'm glad that I do know, because I can hold it in a way, and like, look, I might get really sad for a couple of days or feel a bit betrayed, or, but it does kind of teach me a bit about relationships with others. It kind of teaches me a little bit more like what to expect or what I need to work on, or maybe other ways I could try to be more considerate.
Hmm.
So I try to take this like as a lesson, and also just, but for me too, to also just feel my emotions. But I just gotta say, John, it's a very awkward situation to be in. It's
Yeah.
very, very awkward. It's
Yeah.
it's it's kind of like,
It probably doesn't get
like
more awkward, right?
I know it's kind of like something, and maybe they know something, or they don't know that you know something, and then it's kind of like, do you know? It's like, know what? I was like, what do you know? I was like, I'm not gonna say something unless you say something. They're like, I don't have anything to say. I'm not gonna say anything. So it's like it's kind of like that funny thing. It's like a funny, like hide and seek secret almost
Yeah.
is the way I would describe it.
Hmm.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I don't know. Sometimes it kind of does feel like it's a little bit of a blessing, and a curse, but it's kind of like the inside outside like reflection, like we're a reflection of everyone and everything. So I can also learn a little bit from their perspective. I could also learn how I feel and how I transmute these things. Like I can take it as a learning opportunity and also see that under the right circumstances maybe I could also be a little jealous, or maybe I mean, I know this because I've been through a lot of like shadow work and stuff, like where I could be unaware
Mhm.
of my feelings for another person, or maybe there's a part of my personality that I'm not quite aware of.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that awkward thing where it's like, well, if this thing that is hiding with me did exist, and if someone out there did notice it, and if they were to feel like me when someone else does this to me, and then we don't talk about it, well, then I'm not aware of it either. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's
Yeah.
I,
And
I, I don't know, it's awkward.
I thank you for sharing it. I feel there was a couple of kind of themes I want to talk about. One was to share that um I've had I've had experiences of that kind of, I don't really know a better way of describing it. It seems such a negative context, but like a witch hunt where you get this kind of third party influence, and that can include something like a tarot card, or for me it was in a I had three readings. Um, this is like in the last, I won't give a time frame, but within the last couple of years, I had three readings, and they all said the same thing. And there was all the same thing. John, there's someone close to you in your life that is not serving your highest good. And I'm like, oh, because I totally resonate with what you're saying, Nova. It's like, I feel like I'm very trusting of people, that I always see their good and are very forgiving, especially like as part of our shadow work podcast, right? So often we're very forgiving of the lower vibration aspects of each other, of ourselves and others. And when I actually took a look, and one of the first things my go to was to ask my body, it's like, what is the thing that you keep kind of like, like, it's like, hi, how, you just, you suddenly, I won't make the noise again, but you suddenly feel like, oh, there's that feeling again whenever that person, either when we connect, full stop, or when they're doing that thing again, or they're saying that thing, or you're getting that feeling from them or about them. And my body was like, this is a real problem. This is the unseen enemy now being seen. And you've got to
Yeah.
decide who and where. And it's not like I'm totally blameless. There's often these people are inside of like our circle of trust, like they're in our within our boundaries. They're in
Yeah.
this space that's very trusting. And yeah, I found it shocking when I faced it. um and it's happened a couple of times since. It was just such a massive lesson. I realized that I'd been telling my intuition and my increasingly psychic gifts and my body, shh, it's fine, they're nice. Look, they even say they're nice. Other people think they're nice. So why would I be the one that goes, no, there's like, I think there's a real problem, at least with this, between this person and I. Um, and then the far more gradual versions of this, and it just reminded me, I feel like we should do a podcast on spiritual
Okay.
bypassing. I think spiritual bypassing would be a fantastic um, topic, but the there's this thing, right, where in the spiritual community, which is just even that term I find jarring, but like a community of people that are into like these different domains,
Yeah.
spirituality, but it includes shadow work and all kinds of things. And when you get this kind of guru type avatar, so your stereotypical spiritual mentor, or part coach, or someone's out there and saying, hey everybody, I've got the solution to all your problems. You just need to buy John Binnie's 321 steps to earning £1 million every month, and you'll be fine. Oh, and you're going to save the world doing that. And I initially I found the concept helpful, because it's like, oh, I am leaving my corporate job. I need to start my own business.
Yeah.
Oh, I can earn money enough to sustain my family and I. Great. But at what point does the money itself, or all the other kind of third dimensional paradigms like the kind of greedy aspects of like, I want a bigger house, I want to be famous, I want to be like, have a big car. Like, at what point do you draw the line and say, this is just my line, never mind others. I don't care to judge others, but for me, it was like, well, at what point would I say that's enough? And at what point on that journey to achieving a certain income each month or each year to being sustainable would I compromise on the other things I want to achieve? So I want to achieve, really, my mission is to help others. I want to
Yeah.
help people around the world on their journey, um, both coming into their awakenings and then, going through all their shadows and all their pain and suffering, and to help people step into their dreams. And it's like, but if I know I knew this from my career in software engineering, whenever you had a project and you focused on a goal,
Yeah.
if you chose the goal and told everyone about it, it didn't really matter what the goal was. And maybe even it didn't really matter if it was like super ethically wrong or right. That back then it didn't really seem to matter. But what I did see is that whenever everyone united around this one goal, everything became easy, because we just found it really easy to talk about. You could say, hey, so example, how many more customers would that attract if that was the primary metric? And it was really easy. And so you just, whenever something else came up, like, oh, we think we should paint our product green, it was like, well, how many more customers will that get? I don't know. Okay, well, let's park it for now and keep going. Um, and so what I found was, talking about people again, is I realized that there was coaches that directly that I was engaged with spiritually, business wise, even like accountants, like helping me get started in my business. And I realized that no one was sharing why they were doing their work. Nobody. And all they'd ever say is, if their kind of advertising would tend to be like about earning more, it's
Mm.
always about the money. And it's like, why are we saving this planet with money? I'm not sure money's good or bad, right? It's kind of like it's just a thing.
Yeah.
And sure, it has some pretty dark magic woven into it, but it, you can earn as much money as you like. That's fine. But I just don't know that it's really going to, for me, it's going to help me help save this planet. And then when
Mhm.
I challenged some of, like, especially a couple of coaches that I was working with, I'd say, so I do want to earn a sustainable living and I want to have a good work-life balance. But how do I balance that? They're really
Yeah.
constraints, because my primary goal is to help others. How do I not burn myself out? And the answers I got were typically um, to just earn more money first, and then I could help more people. And it's like, no, I don't think that's right. I don't think doing the other thing that I shouldn't be doing first and then doing the thing I feel like I should be doing later is going to help. And then this kind of
I agree.
and then thank you. And then the energy behind it, like, was this real shift. It was like, it's like, Johnny, you on like this kind of energy of, John, are you on this bus or not? Like, are you in this for like financial gain or not? And it's like, well, I could have just stayed in a corporate job for money. And frankly speaking, I earned more then than you earn now. So I could be as greedy as I wanted in that world. That's what I left.
Yeah.
Um, and I found I and then I realized all those times that either they were doing something that I struggled with, like I would see them, advertising, and I'd watch the advert, and part of me was like, it just feels a bit icky, like I don't know what it is, but I mean, it sounds compelling, and they say
Yeah.
really cool words, and they seem like upbeat and quite high vibe, and actually I think it'll help a lot of people, and I think all those things are still true, but for me there was this thing that there was this disconnect, and the
Mhm.
energy for me was like, but what is it, John? Why is it jarring for you? And I feel it in my heart and in my stomach. And then I started to realize it's because I'm reacting to my mission, like my mission to help others. They're not talking about that. They're talking about this other thing, what I see as a building block that, or part building block, part constraints.
Mhm.
Um, and then I realized, okay, I'm going to spend a lot of effort and I'm going to tell the world why I'm doing this work, because I just want people to be clear, and that whenever you catch me and my energy is not aligned with that, because that's the reason you do it, right? You say,
Yeah.
I'm going to help billions of hearts around this planet, and I'm going to tell you that that's what I'm going to do, because when I'm not doing it, you can tell me, John, you're not doing it. And I
Yeah.
can tell myself, John, that thing I just did is not doing that. Um, and I found that journey to transparency really like just, I felt you were saying, like, you feel so alone. I don't think it's a coincidence that, people that are working on themselves, doing their shadow work, you're highly empathic, you're developing your psychic abilities. It's very common to end up not only feeling, but not feeling alone, but not having many friends. And
Yeah.
suddenly I felt like, it's like, where is everyone else's like versions of this? So I have to have like my future vision on a webpage on my website. You can read it. It's quite long, but you can read it all. And I quite often do videos about, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I did a video about one particular part about the ways, like my guidelines and tenets and the ways I work. And then I realized sometimes I just wish like if other people could spell out what they want to do with their dream lives, with their business, with their family, what if they want to be the greediest person in the world, like frankly, I literally don't care. Like we all have these attributes of us, but
Yeah.
if you could be transparent about it, I could know whether I resonate with you or not.
Yeah.
And I could know if you've just gone a bad day and it was John's greedy day. It was like, that's okay too. But yeah, that I found that really shocking. And so I mean, more recently, I just ended up in this situation where it's like, I just don't think I can follow you anymore because I can't, I can't reconcile that difference. I can't, it's so human, right? We're constantly
Yeah.
mixing intentions. And it's like, I can't mix this stuff anymore. I have to say, I have to choose. I have to choose, are you in alignment with my mission, or were you really helpful at a specific time as I was learning, and I now need to let that go and, you know I don't know, go on a journey and find other people that inspire me because I feel that they're so much more aligned. um
Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking for ages. um
No, it's a really good thing to think about. Like I had some of my friends, like they would do services like psychic services for other people, but sometimes they would attract weird people. Like I had a couple weird people, like twice. Really weird. I I did a stream on it like one time, but I'll just give one example. There was one person who did not want a tarot reader. They wanted a girlfriend. And I'm just like, go
wow.
away. Like, please don't do this to me. Like, here I was thinking I had a client and they just didn't know how to respect it. It was weird. And so I, this friend of mine would like express like the kinds of like people that we could attract or we could get, and it's kind of like what you're saying, John. It's like whether it's like you're putting yourself out there, whether it's like to be friends with someone or it's a service or it's an advert. There's a different energy behind it, and there's sometimes people are not aligned with like what's your goal. Like for instance, like for being like a tarot reader, there's some tarot readers that will just keep doing readings for people, and like they'll like keep buying, they'll keep buying, the service when like they know like this person really isn't changing, but like I'm just gonna still do a reading for them. But like a lot of readers, they're just like, no, like go, like you had a reading, maybe wait like 3 months before your next one. But there's some people that they just like to consume. There's some people where they don't really want you. They want some part of you that is not what you're offering, right? So sometimes like it can be helpful to like maybe check your intuition, see like, should I be working with this person, right? Whether it's like you're selling something or you're getting a client, or you're trying to work with someone. Sometimes it's good to just use your intuition, see, well, how does my body feel, how does my heart feel, what is what do my tarot cards say, or like how can I avoid, because like this is something like I want to avoid having these problems like later down the road. I want to avoid, and sometimes they're just unavoidable. And like sometimes it's just like soul contracts, or sometimes it's just like that person was meant to be there. And now their intentions changed, or their intentions were revealed, and now they're not there anymore. And that's like I said, it's just human. Sometimes like we can like mix up our intentions, or we can lose like sight of like our purpose, or like our goal, or like also how are we like portraying ourselves to other people, and so like when you're very transparent and you just tell people straight out the gate, like, okay, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is what I do, this is what I won't do, and and just be upfront, is the authentic transparency that is like so important. I noticed like a lot, and I can relate to you on this, John. Like there's people that I don't really align with, and that could just partially be because of like, maybe I could see, the shadows, or I can see the ego, right? But other times it's like I can see that they're not a part of the change that I want to see in this world, and that's where things are like kind of like misaligned, and especially with like advertising, like marketing, like I'm pretty good at understanding cult psychology, and marketing and cult psychology are pretty much like one and the same. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of manipulation. So I can kind of see it, but like I don't judge it, because like, look, I understand business, but like I see where like there's the business and then there's your ego. And it's like, what are you trying to do at the end of the day? Like, are you trying to manipulate people to sell more stuff? Or are you really trying to help people?
Yeah.
Like what are you really trying to do? And it's like you said, like, what about this balance? It's not to have this attitude of like, was I think it's called the ends or the means justify the ends, or the ends justify the means. I'm
Yeah.
dyslexic, I get confused. It's actually kind of funny.
Both.
But yeah, like I will literally like flip things. Like I'm verbally dyslexic. Like I think my thoughts are dyslexic too. It's really strange. Um, yeah, like, so that those are just some things, but not everyone's educated in the marketing psychology. Not
Yeah.
everyone is, looking to their intuition. A lot of people feel like they're not intuitive. Not everyone
Yeah.
is like psychically sensitive. Not everyone has the gift of tarot. Not everyone knows how to like talk to their guides and ask their guides, should I work with this, and then of course, like, if you don't feel like you have any of those things, then you'll go to someone else and ask someone else, like, hey, can you help me or give me advice here? And then, of course, it's like the same thing all over again, because who can you trust? Who is in alignment with you? And sometimes you
That's
just
right.
won't know. But that's just the beauty of life, though. Right?
Yeah, it
Like
is.
there's all these characters, there's all these expressions, there's all these, intentions or misalignments. Everyone's just kind of in their own way. And that's why, we don't judge it, and we hold space for it. It's just part of life. And that's how we know where we should be and where we shouldn't be. That's where we know where we are appreciated and where we're not appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's just the way life is,
Yeah.
right?
I
It's
think
it's
you
awkward. Yeah.
yeah,
Go
it
ahead.
is. Like you spoke about advertising. I think it's a fantastic example. I remember being really curious. Like I think I must have stopped paying as much for, is it Netflix, and then I put adverts in, and they're just like, they are mesmerizing. Like the mismatch of energy to all the colors and the people talking, and it start to, what's really like psychically what I see is the people in the meeting rooms who are coming up like brainstorming, and they're doing the artist and they're sketching up the advert, and
Yeah.
it's really fascinating seeing often like younger people. I mean, it's, you'll just use, you use your target audience, people that can represent them, and then this intention that comes across so strong, and yet it's a mismatch to what's being said and shown, and the feelings are just so curious. Like this is happening right as the world ascends, and the veil between this. This is how we've been controlled for so long as a species, is because we could. This was in an environment where energy could largely be siloed, and you could say, no, trust me, John Binnie, I'm a millionaire, and everyone would like, well, he said he's a millionaire. Who am I to disagree? And that's strange sensation. I see it a lot with politicians as well, right? It's like, you just like, is anyone else seeing this? Is anyone else feeling this? Because this is literally some random words coming out of a human, and their personal intention just seems, that's weird, but the grander agenda that they're representing is even stranger, and it's totally mismatched with what's being said.
Yeah.
And you're being, we are being treated as fools, that we literally cannot spot the energy. And I also find it really fascinating that we then the narrative we tell ourselves is like,
Yeah.
shh, like, it's okay, John, don't tell anyone else. I think the circus, it's not a circus, it's real life. That they're trying to help us, and this is anything from advertising to politicians. But the other thing to do is like see that in ourselves. Like
Oh
these
yeah.
are not separate people to us. These are the same family of the human race to us. And so when we look back inside of us, and one thing I do, for example, is if I really feel low, I will either write a song that day that is low energy, and
Mhm.
like honestly reflect it, and not pretend that there's somehow a happy ending. Like not all
Yeah.
songs have happy endings, and or I won't do it at all, and I just say no, that's not. This is a down day for me. It's a chance for me to just take that time and energy and work on myself. Um, in our last few minutes, Nova,
Yeah.
for what would your advice be for people, the go-tos to be for when they're concerned about that kind of energy mismatch, both in themselves, like, they're kind of challenging why am I doing this? And then when it's happening to them, when there's an energy mismatch from what someone else is saying to what they're actually doing.
Okay, I feel like this is the being more aware of ourselves and being more sensitive within ourselves to ask those questions and to feel those things. I think it can be harder for some people, right? But it's just like anytime that you're overwhelmed or anytime you're confused or anytime you're in doubt, like you have to like look within, or try to find some help to look within. Or if you've never done that before, it's like you should. And um because I mean there's lots of benefits to that, because you kind of get to see all your shadows and all the areas like that's contributing to this like mixed matched energy, or this like confusion, or this self-doubt. It's a lot easier to believe in yourself and to believe in what you're doing when you're very, very clear to yourself and to others on what that is. I think there's a big program where people are often fixated on external validation, right? For their clarity or their direction, right? But that's really something that you have to like give to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the shadow program, right? Like that's something that you're going to have to look and like, man, I was so fixated on this particular thing that I completely neglected like the feminine side, the receptive side, the sensitivity side, the side that's emotional, the side that cares about relationships, and not just your relationships with people, but the relationship, with yourself. And but there's many ways to look at this. Sometimes you could just look into your intuition and feel into that. Other times it's just you could try educating yourself on people who are manipulative, like cult psychology, or you could look at narcissism, or you could look at all these different things, because these things, yes, they can be felt as energy, but there's also like the manifestation, the patterns that people have also wrote about and researched and organized that information and look at these patterns. It can be more helpful for your like discernment to kind of look at things in a more intellectual way if you can't feel that sensitivity, right? But I think everyone kind of has like the things that they're good at doing for like I guess for their discernment, or for realigning themselves with their purpose, or their intention. But it's like you can easily burn out when you're not aligned. Like your energy is all over the place, right? And
Yeah.
you can affect others, you can affect yourself. It just and and that's one of the things I really appreciate about you is that you take the time to meditate, you take the time to ask your spirit guides, you take the time to learn your lessons, you take the time to do the shadow work, like you take the time to do these things and to talk about these things. And I don't see a lot of people do that, in like in general, but also like in like the mentoring or coaching or whatever, and that's actually one of the main reasons why I resonated with you so much. Because business or whatever goal it is, I think some people kind of like they portray themselves a certain way, or they kind of lie to themselves, or they're not aware they're lying to themselves, or they're not aware that they're lacking clarity on themselves, right? And sometimes people just don't do it, right? Because there's like, especially in business, there's this really big push on the external validation on what you can prove, on what you can do and how productive you are and what your numbers are, and like all these different datas and all these measurements. But like ultimately it comes down to you, and it's like you said, like these are all reflections of us, like in the human race. Like these are all applicable lessons that we can learn if we choose to learn from them, if we choose to have compassion on them, if we choose to self-reflect on that. But even someone like me, who could give this advice, like it is still really, really awkward to deal with these things. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find, people you can trust, because you also got to like trust yourself. And then you could realize, man, the more I trust myself, then the more I can gauge on whether or not I can trust this person. Now, sometimes there's going to be surprises here and there. And I think sometimes that might be maybe fate or soul contracts, or I don't know. Sometimes
Mhm.
their intuition is going off and we're like, shh, like, no, this
Yeah.
person is a good person. I love this person. This person feels like an older sister to me,
Mhm.
but sometimes you're going to have to deal with that, like eventually, but I think we over time, like by talking about it, by looking for that, and by looking, for those things, or being more specific or have more clarity, it's not always, what is shown to you, because looks can be deceiving, words can be deceiving, but energy does not lie,
Yeah.
right? So, I think maybe people need to embrace more of that receptivity or that sensitivity, or like within that self, they got to cultivate it from within, so that way they can kind of see, where things are misaligned, but just like that's how because you've cultivated that, and you've understand, and the wisdom of that. So when you see something and you feel that it's not quite right, that's because you integrated and you transcended, like you have the wisdom there to see it, because it lives within you,
Yeah.
right? And I think people gotta like recognize that. I know we kind of see things like external, but like, hey, it cultivates within us, like first of all. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that maybe a lot of people don't want to see. They want to like see like deception as external, but hey, it is just as internal as it is external. And
An
there's
inside job.
yeah, yeah, it's like an inside job. Exactly. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. We're up on time, and thank you so much for navigating. It's a difficult topic, and one of the things I wanted to share before we finish as well was I love these podcasts because they take me to some of the uncomfortable parts of me, where if I didn't do this, I wouldn't challenge myself as much. And I think it's a great opportunity to be vulnerable and transparent and share what it's like being a human right now and
Yeah.
going through all these, physical and metaphysical experiences and and as you mentioned, over like just trying, like, where's the wisdom? Who's teaching us how to do this? Like we're learning, when the energy doesn't lie, what do we do? We feel it. So what do we do with that lie? And yeah, I think there's some fabulous advice there, and asking, I think, a great question to respond to those niggling doubts when you're suppressing your intuition, or your body's kind of lurching at an experience, or energy and action mismatches, to just ask yourself why. Like, start
Yeah.
within, like just say, why does this feel like this to me? Write it down and just have a think. I did catch myself yesterday about to ask a friend about another friend, and I'm like, whoa, John, that is a red flag. Why would I ask someone else about someone else? That seems quite toxic in itself. But do I not trust myself enough? have I not just answered my own question? Like,
Yeah,
should I
exactly.
trust this person? I know, I'll go
Like
and ask
if you
someone
have
else.
to ask, then maybe you shouldn't. If you have to ask, that maybe that's trying to tell you something. Like
Exactly. And it's
if
like,
you knew,
oh,
you wouldn't. There would be no doubt. There'd be no question. But because you're asking, then like,
yeah,
yeah, not everything is as orderly as you thought. That's
that's right.
also a good reason. Like if you're asking these questions, like there might be a reason why. That
Yeah,
might just be the answer itself.
that's right.
Mhm.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to sharing. I think these podcasts are now shared. Well, they are now shared we're on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and a whole range of other um, podcast providers as well as YouTube. And yeah, please do support us. Check out Nova's channel. And I'm looking forward to catching up on your recent video. Was it on emotional intelligence? Did you say?
Yes, emotional intelligence, emotional immaturity, sensitivity, parental wounds, patterns, a lot of that stuff.
Wow, fantastic! Looking forward to that. Great. Well, thanks everyone. Take care, and we'll see you in our next podcast. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.